A topic of many debates and discussions, at least in the United States, is whether or not students in schools should be required to learn how to play a musical instrument. We're talking about, compulsory music lessons. Should we actually make students put their butts in seats and listen to a music teacher or instructor and learn how to play musical instruments? And I think that there are a lot of valid points and arguments to be made for both sides. So we're going to talk about both sides of this issue. Now, on the for side, there are a lot of studies. There are scientific studies. There is brain research done showing actual, demonstrable results and benefits to learning how to play a musical instrument. So we're going to start with talking about the pros of requiring students to learn how to play a musical instrument in school. The research shows that learning a musical instrument at an early age can improve learning ability and memory. And obviously, you're gonna hear that and think, well, that's great. Yes, we want our students to have an easier time learning and to be able to remember and retain information better. That's a phenomenal thing to have. Now, learning a musical instrument also stimulates creativity. Having to actually learn how to play an instrument is going to work the creative side of your brain. It's going to stimulate that creativity, and it's a great outlet for creativity. If you get to the point where you're comfortable playing music, I play a little bit of guitar, and I've played other instruments in my life. Not that I've really stuck with them, but I know that it is a good outlet once you get to the point where you're comfortable and you're familiar with that instrument. Learning to play a musical instrument also teaches children patience. You have to persevere through these lessons, and especially if it doesn't come naturally or easy, you're not a naturally gifted prodigy at playing music. You're going to have to be very patient with that. It's really going to teach you how to kind of suffer through something. Learning how to play a musical instrument also teaches discipline and time management. So on the, kind of in the same vein as having to be patient with it, it is something that you're going to have to stick with, and that builds discipline. That teaches you how to have, kind of a self-discipline, how to make it, discipline and time management. It also boosts hand-eye coordination and dexterity. And this is something that I do feel comfortable saying for sure, because I have learned how to play guitar twice in my life, because I've played as a child and then picked it up a couple years ago just to kind of mess with. At least with guitar, and I'm sure it's the same for most instruments because you use your hands, your digits. You really have to, when you start, it really is eye-opening how little coordination and dexterity you have in these fingers, at least compared to what you would usually be doing with them. Because it's such a different thing having to come back and finger a chord on a guitar neck. And once you start to get that muscle memory and you remember, just kind of without thinking about it, you notice, you can absolutely tell, oh, hey, I'm better at this now. I have more dexterity and control in these fingertips. It also builds confidence. So when you have students that are going to be learning how to play a musical instrument, at first they're going to be learning, in a classroom setting with their peers and with their teachers. So just right there off the bat, they're going to be building confidence because you're having to learn how to do something in front of other people. And that can definitely be an uncomfortable thing for a lot of people to start with. But by continuing to do that, you will become more confident. And then you may be playing for your family, in front of your parents or friends outside of school. Or if your school hosts like an actual performance, it will absolutely boost your confidence to have to be in those settings in front of all those eyes. It's also going to enhance students' listening skills. So not only are they going to be listening to more instruction from an instructor, from a teacher, you're going to have to listen to what they tell you to help learn how to play the instrument. But then also you've got to listen to rhythm and pace and speed and the tempo, the pitch, all these things. It's going to train your brain, and really work an area of your brain that you're not in your everyday life unless you're playing a musical instrument. Now, research shows that playing an instrument engages both the left side of your brain and the right side of your brain. So it's actually very beneficial to be able to do something that is working both sides of your brain. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense. You know, you always think, oh, anything that's creative is like just a left side brain kind of thing, or right side. I honestly forget which is which. But being able to have all your students going through something and learning something that is engaging both sides of the brain is very good. And there are also brain scans that have shown in students that that when they're doing math, there's you can see activity in the brain, and when they're listening to music, these researchers described that as seeing fireworks of activity in the brain. But when they're playing a musical instrument, they depicted that as like the equivalent of a full body workout in the brain. Like it is really engaging, almost every area of the brain when you're playing a musical instrument, which is that's great for students to be getting that experience. Now, while there are so many positives to having required, compulsory music lessons for students, there are also some negatives. So now, if learning an instrument is something that is forced upon a student, it can actually cause more bad than good. It can create more problems than it's solving. Many musically inclined students are going to see playing an instrument as an outlet for stress relief and creativity, and that's great. But if a student is struggling, if it doesn't come naturally to that student, it may actually end up being another source of stress and anxiety. One more thing to worry about in your busy school life. Because if it's not coming naturally to you and you're not interested in it and you're not enjoying it, that's going to be actually detrimental to other areas of your life, because that's going to just build more stress and anxiety, and you don't want that in students. Students that aren't interested aren't going to practice outside of the school anyways. So if you've got compulsory lessons in school, you may be able to force a student to practice a musical instrument and learn for 1 to 2 hours a day, but they're not going to go home and continue to practice if it's not something that they are enjoying or that they feel they're getting anything out of. And so instead of being forced to take a compulsory music lesson and learn how to play a musical instrument, those students that aren't interested and aren't benefiting from music lessons could be much better served by playing a sport or having an art club or any other many number of other extracurricular activities that they could be doing, where they would be making a better use of their time. So if students could be benefiting more from another activity, why would we force them to be in music lessons when they could be getting more from something else? So yes, there are, also musical instruments are very expensive. So if it's a, in my experience, what I have seen with music classes in schools is that you are kind of assigned an instrument and you have to take care of it. There may be families that can't afford to replace or repair an instrument if it is damaged, or if it's a class that requires parents to pay for an instrument, they may not be able to do that anyways. Now, there obviously are a lot of benefits to learning how to play a musical instrument, but the main thing to remember is that only the students that are interested in that and that are succeeding in that are going to get anything out of it. All those other students would really be better off spending their time with something else, exercising their brain in a different way.